So I think it's only right we talk about my team, Manchester United, after the disaster class last night at home to a team that has never won a game on English soil, at home to a team that's not won a Champions League game in so many years, a game that we should have won, a game that we went 2-1 up in. And what did Manchester United do? They lost. Manchester United had gone from the team in the under Fergie days that would always find a way to win, Fergie time, last minute winner, to a team that I feel like always finds a way to lose. You go 1-0 up, concede within 4 minutes. 2-1 up, concede within 4 minutes. Red card, penalty, silly mistake, Onana mistake. I feel like we're always trying to find a way to lose. And I'm absolutely fuming still. I actually feel so upset about my team right now. And we are such a mess. And it goes beyond individuals. I see people calling out individuals. It's not about individuals. It's about a lot of things. And I think it's only right that this is a raw video with no notes, but I kind of discuss United and everything that went on. And first of all, how we've been this season is unacceptable. Injuries aside, we have not been good enough this season. And I've got a lot of concerns all around the club. To lose to that Galatasaray side is embarrassing. I'm going to be honest with you. We should not be losing to that team. That team is not that good. I'm sorry. Yeah, Cardi, Saha, they're not that good. They score goals, but they're not that good. We shouldn't be losing to them. And I feel sorry for Rasmus Højlund and I feel sorry for Mason Mount because they were absolutely brilliant yesterday and they didn't deserve to be on the losing side. You know, we scored 5 goals in 2 Champions League games and we've not won any of them because we just concede. And this is the problem of our season. I'm not talking about Galatasaray. I'm talking about Manchester United in general. Every time we score, we concede. It's like we're always trying to find a way to lose. We can't hold on to a lead and then we'll play games really well for 20 minutes. The amount of games this season when we've looked good in the opening 20 minutes. Brighton, Bayern Munich, Crystal Palace, yeah, we lost all of those games. But in the opening 20 minutes, we played really good football, attacking, free-flowing football. I could see his style of play. I was like, oh, I love what Ten Hag's trying to do here. The opposition, they go up the other end, they score. And I'm thinking, what are we doing now? And then we just capitulate. We start doing the long balls, switches of play. We're trying too hard to transition the ball. We're trying too hard to play direct. It's a mess. And then defensively, the midfielders aren't tracking their runners. The defenders are losing all their duels, being pushed off the ball. The attackers' decision-making has been dreadful. The goalkeeper's making mistakes. Ten Hag's substitution and in-game management is questionable with his favourites. And I think there's just problems all round at the club. And I want to dive into United from goalkeeper all the way to striker about the problems. And one thing I want to say is I don't think you can scapegoat a single player as a problem. In the past, I used to be, Maguire, drop Maguire, McTominay, drop McTominay, McFred, Maguire. You know, I used to sometimes after a game just rant and go in on 1 or 2 players and saying they need to be dropped. And those players at the time did need to be dropped. But I had this assumption in my head of, if we drop Maguire and play someone like Erik Bailly, which sounds crazy looking back at it now, we'll win the next game. Maguire's the issue. But then I found out that Maguire wasn't the issue, and McTominay wasn't the issue, and McFred were not the issue. And while none of those players, I believe, were good enough and that they needed to go, Ronaldo, I don't think was right for the way that we wanted to play, despite scoring 20 goals. And David De Gea, I think, needed to be moved on, despite getting the Golden Glove. He was, no team's got him now. Despite Ronaldo, De Gea, McFred, Maguire, all of those players I felt like shouldn't have been in the starting 11. None of those players were individually the problem. Right now, everyone's going on Rashford with this assumption that if we drop Rashford and play Garnacho, we're going to start winning games. We'll drop Rashford and we'll still be rubbish. Now, Rashford deserves to be dropped because he's been bad. But I think people are ganging on Rashford thinking, okay, if he drops Rashford and Bruno, we're going to win loads of games. It's not like that. If he drops Onana for this goalkeeper we brought from Turkey, we're going to win loads of games. It's not like that. And what's frustrating is I see everyone going in on Onana, drop Onana now. And last week, everyone was saying drop Rashford. And the week before, everyone was saying drop Bruno. And I've been like that in the past. Drop Maguire, drop McFred. And look, players need to be dropped when they're not performing, and a lot of our players are not performing. But a lot of people, I think, have this assumption that, okay, if he stops playing this player and that player and plays this player and that player instead, the season's going to be fine, we're going to be good. And I don't think you realise this. Maguire doesn't play, McFred doesn't play, Ronaldo doesn't play, David De Gea doesn't play. Players that all, I think, in some way were stopping our progress going forward or weren't good enough or need to be dropped. We drop those players, they get replaced by someone else, and we're still bad as a collective. This isn't about one individual player needing to be dropped or one individual player needing to be replaced. This is about the team as a collective. There is problems all over the team. The goalkeeper, Onana, I think will become good because he was good at Inter Milan, but he has not been good enough. He's made silly mistakes and he's cost us the Champions League group stage. Onana's not been great, but I'm not going to call for him to be dropped, and I'm not going to call for David De Gea back. David De Gea hasn't found a club for a reason. And David De Gea made these mistakes against Sevilla. I think people, because Onana's had an awful start, are doing this re-envision of David De Gea. David De Gea made so many mistakes in big games last season, he wasn't good enough. So it's like people saying they want Ollie back. Ten Hag did more last season than Ollie did in his whole time at United. This re-envision is crazy because things are going wrong. Diego Dalot, I don't actually think he's had a bad season, but yesterday was shocking. Was completely at fault for the goal. And the thing is, we have to pay Diego Dalot because he's the only fit fullback. We have 6 fullbacks at the club, which is worrying with the injury record. But Wan-Bissaka was missed yesterday. Wan-Bissaka would have dealt with Zaha a lot better. We saw Dalot struggle against St Maximin in those Newcastle games. Then Wan-Bissaka came on and pocketed St Maximin. That would have been a game where Wan-Bissaka would have been fine with Zaha, and Dalot would have struggled. We didn't have Wan-Bissaka available. Rafael Varane had a good first half, but second half, Victor Lindelof was absolutely dreadful, being pushed off the ball, and actually Maguire deserves to start with Lindelof right now. He's been absolutely dreadful. And Amrabat was poor at left back. He was out of position. His positional sense was non-existent, but Amrabat's not a left back, so I'm not interested in going in on him. You look at the midfield, and this isn't even about yesterday's game. This is in general. Casemiro has been great in the final third, been a goal threat, been good going forward, but his positional awareness has been shocking. His ability to track runners, he keeps losing his man, and when we concede in goals, 80% of the time, it's because one of the midfielders has lost their man. It's appeared on the top of the box, and they've scored a goal. We're losing runners in midfield. We're getting outrun in midfield. We're getting completely played through in midfield, and the midfield's been, for me, the biggest problem this season. It's not worked, and this isn't just on Casemiro. It's just not worked. When Casemiro and Eriksen played in those big games, it was dreadful. There's too much space. And also, we're completely avoiding the midfield and build-up. What the problem with United is we have players that aren't good in build-up in the midfield. We haven't got someone that can pick the ball off the centre-backs and progress the ball forward. We haven't got a Frankie de Jong type player. We need a Frankie de Jong type player. So I think when things go wrong, we're completely bypassing the midfield and build-up, which is making us go direct, play long, lose control. We're not controlling the game. We're not controlling the tempo of the game, and we're creating less chances. We're completely bypassing the midfield. And I think, we need Amrabat to play in midfield, and unfortunately he's got to play left back because we've got no fit left backs at the moment. But we need a presence like Amrabat in midfield, or even someone like Kobbie Mainoo that can control the game, because it's been really poor. Bruno Fernandes has been hit and miss this season. He's had good games, he's had bad games. He was awful yesterday, but he was playing right wing. Mason Mount has been phenomenal, actually. I have to say he's not really put the foot wrong, and I think his off-the-ball work, his technical qualities are shining through. I think the only few players that are shining at the moment, Hannibal Mejbri, Rasmus Højlund and Mason Mount. They're the only few players that are shining at the moment because I think they have the athletic qualities that the rest of the team don't seem to have. They can cover ground, they can do the pressing, they can actually do what Ten Hag's system requires, but they also have the technical qualities. And I don't think the rest of our team have that. And I think it will be a long rebuild because I think we've got a lot of players that can't match oppositions physically, athletically, technically. And part of that is on coaching, and Ten Hag needs to adapt the style of play, a better identity. And I have got some criticism of Ten Hag, but I think it goes a bit deeper than that. I think the midfield has been poor. I think the midfield has been awful, in fact. And again, injuries haven't helped, but you have to put some fault on Ten Hag here. I'm not Ten Hag out. I think problems at United go way beyond the manager. I think you sack Ten Hag. I don't think any good manager wants to come to United right now with every other manager being thrown under the bus. I think you sack Ten Hag. There's no good replacement. I think you've got to give Ten Hag time. Look at Arteta. Look at other managers. And I think whoever comes in to replace Ten Hag will be in this exact same situation. So I think there's no point sacking a manager every 2 years. I think you've got to ride through. It's got to get worse before it gets better. But the way we're playing, the long balls, the lack of identity is particularly worrying. And you go into attack, Marcus Rashford, completely lacking confidence. Attackers completely lacking confidence in front of goal. Rasmus Højlund's been phenomenal. Martial's actually been okay when he's played. Pellistri and Garnacho are inexperienced, so I'm not really going to bring them into this conversation. Sancho's being an absolute wet white, and Anthony Taylor's whole situation going on, and he's not been great. I look at United now, and it's not about, okay, drop Rashford and play Garnacho and we're going to be a good team and win games. Rashford's the problem. Rashford's the reason we're not winning games. Some fans think that. Some fans think Onana's not the reason we're winning games. We could drop Rashford, we could drop Bruno, we could drop Onana, we could drop Casemiro. I don't think we get a consistent run. We might win a game if we drop them all, but I don't think we'd start winning 4 or 5 games in a row building consistency. I think the problem is a lot deeper than that. I think it's a mentality problem. I think it's a psychological problem. I think the fact that we lose concentration as soon as we score and then concede again, the fact that as soon as we're under pressure defensively, we capitulate, the fact that as soon as we concede a goal, we don't know what we're doing. There's a mentality problem that the players psychologically aren't there. It's like they've given up already. And that, for me, the manager's got to do more there, but I don't think the players are playing for the manager. I don't think some of the players are good enough. And I don't think we have players made to and cut out to play the style of football that Ten Hag wants to play because they are not athletically or technically gifted enough to play this kind of football. They are crap players, some of them. And I think there's multiple issues that Ten Hag needs to work on some things. There needs to be improvement in defence, midfield, goalkeeping and striking department. Players need to improve. There's a confidence issue, but I think the biggest problem is a mentality issue. And I think it's not about dropping one player. It's not about sacking the manager. It's about the culture of this club. And this seems to happen under every manager. And I think this club is in crisis. I think the players have checked out from the season already. And I think, unfortunately, it could be the end for Ten Hag, because I know these players, when things get tough, they give up. They don't respond. They do their paragraphs online. They give up. They drive their Lamborghinis, and they don't think twice about it. When the going gets tough, they hide. They don't respond. We've seen it under every manager. And that is what massively worries me.